January is an obvious time for a lot of people to think about the future, about their goals, about finding that new job, doing that new career move. And that is one of the beauties of this month is that a lot of people have this energy and it's a wonderful thing to tap into, particularly if you have friends who have similar goals. So when you're thinking about job hunting in January, one of the things to understand is that you might be red hot, but the HR departments are often focused on other things. So a really key thing to know about January is that the first half of the month could be a little slow. Now, you'll still see job leads up there. Um, they might be maybe not so fresh. You might see that sometimes. Um, and you might also notice that you might not get responses as quickly. Does this mean that you shouldn't job hunt this month? No, not at all. I feel like career building this month can be great, but you want to be savvy with your time and energy because we honestly, how much time do we all have? How much energy do you have? There's a lot of folks on LinkedIn and in the productivity space who talk about how we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Now, if you have kids, your hours in the day that you can use are going to be different from somebody who does not have children. If you have a full-time job, your time in the day is going to look different than someone who is employed. You might have different priorities and things that you are doing. So we want to make sure that starting right off the bat, we are mindful about our energies. In fact, if you've been job hunting for a while, I would recommend reflecting on I would use pen and paper, but you can also audio process by recording on your phone if you'd like. But either way, I would suggest kind of going over the tactics that you have done in the past couple of months, last year, or however long you've been on the job hunt. Why I recommend that is oftentimes, especially when people have been job hunting for a long time, they start, not everybody, but many people just start doing random stuff. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Frankly, the tactics that they're trying don't often match their outcome. They often don't align with their personality. So they are things that, well, aren't very sustainable. It's hard to do things, for the long haul, or at least long enough to see some sort of result if A, you hate it, or B, you start noticing it's bringing you opportunities that don't match with what you want. So that is why using this sort of slower period in the beginning of the month as a good time to reflect and just kind of like look to see what you're doing. An example is like, let's say you're somebody who is, maybe you're mid-level in the tech field and you want to get a job at a big brand name company with a large design team or a large development team in the heart of the tech hub of your choice. Your job search strategy is going to be different than somebody who is a new graduate from college or a tech boot camp and just needs to get their foot in the door. That is why it's really important for you to practice discernment when it comes to deciding like how you're going to organize your job hunt. I'm all about being strategic because job hunting is tiring. It's stressful. Nobody enjoys this. People can enjoy career building activities, but job hunting itself, particularly if you are unemployed, that is going to be a stressor. So you want to really honor your time and manage it by thinking, okay, if I want X, then is doing Y going to take me to that place? Or is that a distraction? Because it's really easy to make your to-do list full of stuff that is essentially busy work, where your attention can be scattered. And I think it's also important when you're going over this sort of like self audit to be really honest with yourself. After 10 years of coaching, I've definitely worked with folks who have said, oh, I'll do anything. like any sort of tactic. I'm just desperate to stand out in the job market, whatever you want to do. And then when we actually like get down to brass tacks, they definitely do have preferences, and that's fine. You should have preferences. You can have opinions. But when you say I'm down for everything, but then you go through a list and it's like, no, no, what you're really doing is that you're essentially lying to yourself. So if you actually write at the first part said, I'm interested in this, that, or the other thing, but I'm not interested in those things, that can help you. Now, of course, you will want to be flexible. Like sometimes you have to do stuff that you don't want to do. That's all part of being an adult. However, some people will be influenced by, I don't know, something they saw on LinkedIn where you have to send a lot of in-mails or you have to become an influencer in your field or something like that. Now, those are routes you can take. Those are options to try if you have any, you know, like if your intuition is telling you that you would enjoy that or be good at that. But honestly, it's not required, And what often happens to folks if they try a tactic, like a couple of years ago, I was working with a tech boot camp and I had a student who was convinced that she needed to blog on Medium. The problem was that she didn't actually like writing. The process for her was not fun. Not something that she dealt with. So she ended up writing a couple of blogs. And when she inevitably like stopped doing it because it wasn't um, it's not something that's going to give you short-term benefits many times, and it's also something that was against her interest. So she stopped, and then she felt bad. So it's part of this like feedback loop that you can really honestly easily get on when you are job hunting because you're getting so many rejections anyway, and companies aren't very elegant with this and not very considerate. I mean, not to show my age, but back in the day, they used to call you up. They at least do the courtesy of like saying it to your, I guess, phone face, that they weren't interested. You'd actually hear from them. So if you're already in kind of that, no matter how much you are priming your mindset and trying to think positive, you can already get in a negative feedback loop. And then you add things that in some cases are just kind of destined to fail. Now, if she had reframed this opportunity as like, okay, I'm going to write a couple of articles to show some thought leadership or to just show some specialties that I have and then put them on my portfolio, that would have been something where the fact that she completed 3 of these articles would have felt like a win instead of her saying, oh, I'm going to be a blogger. And when she inevitably didn't stick to this schedule, made her feel like a failure. So we want to think about the tactics that we are doing. Not only do they align with our goal, do they align with our personality, and are they things that are sustainable? And you also want to think about tactics that can pay off in the short term and stuff that are a longer game. Social media can be a longer game in some ways. And the algorithms always change. So you want to be mindful of what you're actually doing. And a great time, like I said, is to do it while we're still in the first 2-3 weeks of January, because it's going to start heating up in the job market once we get into the final week of January and into February. So you can really prime yourself for success right now. And I would also, if I was you, look over your materials. Now, if you are in the tech space and you're a relative newcomer, or if you're somebody who has been laid off recently, and maybe you're, I guess, an old comer, but you have to be in the job market, you're going to notice how a lot of people are requiring portfolios. And that is something that people can get really squiggly about. I've recently worked with a client who, she has great skills, she has a great background, but she definitely has a mindset block on just adding her UX case studies to her portfolio. Now, this has been something where we've worked together for a while. This has been on the to-do list, and I know that for her, she feels bad You already feel bad enough when you're job hunting many times, but she feels bad that she has not updated this thing. She has all the elements. We have gone through all these elements. She just has not taken like her elements and the outline of a structure that we worked on to do the thing. Now, one tip that I gave her, and I'm going to give you all, because I doubt that, and I've told her this, like, she is far from the first person that I've worked with who has trouble just hitting publish or starting that first draft, whether it's a portfolio piece or a cover letter or whatever, or even like working on a presentation, or if you are interested in content creation, writing that blog post, working on that video script, whatever it may be. Now, a good tip to just get this done, because done is better than perfect. And don't mistake the fact that I'm telling you to audit yourself and just kind of be thorough in your strategy as a sign that I want you to be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. That it's just not a thing of this world. What I want you to do is be really mindful, intentional about what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you think those actions will lead to. That does not mean perfect. Now, perfect, like I said, it doesn't exist. Now, what's better than that? Done, starting the thing, doing the thing. Now, a tip for folks who are blocked on whatever it is that they need to write out or get out, I suggest recording yourself. Don't worry. I know some people might panic. Don't worry. You don't actually have to show anybody this thing. You can use like the video record, the voice recorder on your phone. You could record yourself in Zoom. There's a variety of ways of recording yourself. And you can think about it as you giving a presentation, maybe for your portfolio project that you haven't written yet, or you talking about yourself for a cover letter. And then take that audio or that video, upload it to a program called Descript. So essentially DE script, like movie script, descript.com, which is this transcription service. It has a free version, and what it does is that it takes your audio video, transcribes it, and it lets you edit the video or the audio. If, let's say, I don't know, you want to be a podcaster or something, that's how I found it was for my podcast. It's how I used to like edit myself and get all the ums, ers, and tangents out. But it's really useful for just taking that transcript. And oftentimes when you just like talk through the thing, you might find that you have created a pretty decent draft, or at least you have something on the page that you can work with. If you're a fan of AI, then you can use something like a ChatGPT to clean up the transcription and proofread for you, so it's a little bit more readable. I do that with my fiction writing. If I'm really stuck, I just dictate, and then I send it to like ChatGPT to clean up. If you're not interested in AI, forget I said anything. Just use Descript or some sort of transcription or voice to text. Honestly, that could be a real, if you're watching this, you're most likely creative and tech savvy, so you're probably pretty comfortable with tech. But if for some reason you're not, you can just use the voice to text feature on your phone and just kind of process this thing or record it and then try to transcribe yourself. That way, you're kind of getting out of your way, and at least you have something to work with then. Now, if you're somebody who definitely another thing that you can do, if you're somebody who's in a real time crunch and you just kind of want to have a minimum viable product version of your, maybe a case study or a work sample of some kind, or you want to just make something that could work as a little like video resume, what you can do is that you can use a tool like Vidyard, or there's one called Loom. So use loom.com. These are both services where you can sort of screencast to your phone, record yourself talking about a project or talking about your career, and they're easily embedded onto any sort of portfolio website. You can also upload the video, so if you want to put on social media, you could. That can be a really good placeholder for a project on your portfolio until you get the more written fancy version. And honestly, even if you do have like a properly written case study on your portfolio or some sort of work sample like that, I'd really recommend having a video or audio version of that project that you can embed on the page, where you take 2 to 5 minutes to talk about your project, your process, what have you. That can be a really nice interactive like element just to put in your portfolio. It can be a nice way to just show off your personality and your professionalism to whatever recruiter or hiring manager goes to your page. Okay, so I never want these lunch and learn videos to be too long, so I'm going to stop right now. But just to summarize, a really great thing that you can do in January is understand that recruiters are hibernating for, like, not literally, but they're essentially hibernating in a lot of ways for the first 2 weeks of the year. HR departments in general have other things to do than hiring. And a lot of talent acquisition teams, they were affected by layoffs in the last couple of years, particularly in tech. So those people have to do more with less help. And around the holidays, it can be a struggle, even for a well-staffed, well-oiled machine. So you might not hear back as quickly. So use that time to really build on your foundations, get your stuff ready, really look at what needs to be updated, revise your tactics so they actually make sense for you and your actual goals. And then, of course, use the last week or two of this month to really start applying, to kind of, get yourself out there by maybe booking networking opportunities, looking up conferences that maybe you want to go to in the spring. That's when things start really heating up. So you can really use January as a great time to just get your head right, your schedule right, and figure out what really makes sense for you in the new year. So I hope that was helpful. As always, I'm Sami. I'm a career specialist. I've been doing this for 10 years. I love helping techies and creatives just kind of like design a career that supports a life that they love. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope your New Year's resolutions are going well. Remember, if you make it easy for yourself, you can actually you remove the friction from actually doing that activity. Like for me, I want to get more active in the new year. It's why my yoga mat right there is just hanging out in the corner of my office. So I can do just like some stretching or some yoga whenever I want to. That's one of my goals. I'm trying to make it easier for myself to complete it. What's your goal in the new year? You can leave me a comment. Let me know. I'd be very interested to see what people are working on.